Thank you. This is, if you're here, hopefully you are here for distance learning and technology innovation. This is a spotlight on Texas initiatives. Just a brief introduction. My name is Ashley Winkle. I am the Associate Director of the Distance Education Professional Development Center at TCALL at Texas A&M is where we are housed. And joining me is my teammates. I'm just going to introduce them because we don't have a lot of mics, so we're going to work with what we have today. But I've got Ryan Lett and Gareth Wingfield, who are both my program coordinators who are helping us with our multiple projects. But basically, at our organization, we handle PD for the state of Texas. So we have a lot of projects, and more specifically, we handle the distance education and technology integration side of things. So today we're going to focus on three main initiatives that we have been focusing on this year, as a matter of fact, and one of them happens to be sitting here. So we're going to talk about her project that we've been working on. But before we get started, we would like to know a little bit about you. So if you are in person, you can scan the code. If you are online, Ryan is going to drop a link into the chat, or you can simply go to slido.com. I'm going to exit this. Don't panic. You will have another opportunity to get into it if Slido would possibly load. That'd be great. I'm having a lot of problems with this computer. I wish I had my own right now. So one moment, technical difficulties. If not, I'll probably have to skip this. I promise I was logged in 2 minutes ago and it logged me out. Oh, it took me to the right account. Also, I'm having problems because I have too many accounts apparently. Co-abe initiatives, people are already in there, it appears. Present. Look at me presenting like I know what I'm doing up here. Okay. All right. If you didn't get logged in, the code is back for you. My apologies with my technical issues today. We would like to know where you are from. It jumped slides on me, but that's okay. So where are you from today? So we've got South Dakota. That's the second time I've seen that this week. So I'm excited to see South Dakota because I've never seen South Dakota before. It looks like North Carolina, Connecticut, Raleigh, Texas, sunny but chilly Maine, Arlington, I assume Arlington, Texas. There are other Arlingtons. Wichita, Kansas, Dallas. Is that you, Ryan? Ryan is from Dallas as well. Okay. We're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. What I wanted to do is this one because it's the end of very last session. Very long 3 days. I don't know about you, but I felt like my first day was 5 because there was so much activity. So give me an idea. How are you feeling with an emoji? Or words are fine too, of course. Great. Rockets. Wow, that's good. Somebody's melting. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I have multiple feelings right now, but I'm happy to have people here, to be perfectly honest. Very last section. Energetic, excited, and ready to do some work. That's fantastic. Yay, yippee. Okay, great. I'm excited to see enthusiasm. I'm also excited to see people being realistic, tired. Yes, I too am tired. And pondering. Yes, pondering, light bulb, lots, and tired. Yes. Done. That's usually pretty much how I feel at the end. My boss is Dr. Glenda Rose. I don't know, a lot of people know who she is, but she's always so ambitious, and she told me that we were going to have a meeting tomorrow. I'm traveling tomorrow. I'm like, what? We're having a meeting tomorrow afternoon. And I knew in my heart, I knew that wasn't happening. And guess what got canceled this morning? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of what I suspected. One more question before we get started. What is your role in adult education? I couldn't put everything in there, so I got what I could. I know a lot of us have multiple roles because that's what we do, so just as close as you can come. Instructor, program leader, leadership, state leadership. Okay, it looks like we've got about Lots of instructors, professional development, lots of others. A lot of instructors. Awesome. All right. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Make sure you're paying attention because I want to make sure you guys stay awake. So we are playing a game at the end. All right. I cannot stand looking at myself, so I'm going to move that out of my way. Okay, so today, is everything looking up there? All right. We are talking about 3 initiatives that we have been working on. We have multiple projects in Texas, but these are 3 of our main ones that we are currently working on. Some of them we started at the end of last year. The others we've just gotten started, but we're very excited to share about. So today we are going to explore 3 special initiatives, understand how 3 Texas AEL initiatives support AEL students and instructors. We're going to evaluate successes and challenges, the ones that we've had so far. And some of these were very early on. Analyze implementation outcomes, key successes, and obstacles. And then we're going to optimize program impact. So identify best practices and enhance AEL programs across Texas. Just a quick overview before we get into it. Lori Slayton, who is our Texas Workforce Commission grant manager, she's the one who submitted this proposal, and she told me she was doing this session with me. This is how this works. My big boss, who gives me the money to do all of her projects, she could not be here. So she just wanted me to tell you that she's sorry that she could not be here, but that she hopes that you enjoy this and that the sessions you were able to join during COVID this year. But she seems to think you're in capable hands. We'll see how that goes. And we're going to proceed. Okay, so this is a Texas collaboration. So this is we are funded by Texas Workforce Commission. And our organization is called the Texas Center for Advancement of Literacy and Learning, so we call that TCALL. We are housed, however, at Texas A&M. So we're at Texas, and we have 2 bosses. It's a very confusing world. But our funding comes from TWC, so we work with them. They are our collaborators, and that is how we make all the magic happen, basically. So we're going to look at the 3 initiatives. I will cover the first, and then I think Gareth does the next, and then Ryan will do the third. So the first one is called Digital Literacy Content Standards Innovations, and it's convenient because the people we hired to help us with this, we collaborated with, are here with us today. Kristen and Joyce. So this is great because something I don't know the answer to, I can ask them. So that works out perfectly for me. I'm kind of going to use the acronym DLCS or DLCSI because we don't have enough acronyms in adult education, so I thought I'd add another one to the list. But basically, I think about 2 years ago, has it been 2 years now, we created our own content standards for digital literacy. We already had content standards in Texas because in Texas, we always have to do things different and always have to have our own. So with that came digital literacy standards. Now, there's already a lot of digital literacy standards out there, but we wanted them to be more specific to fit the needs of our students and our teachers. So we got a group of Texas educators together. We created our standards. I did forget to put that on our resources, but I'll add it after this. We created them. It's about 6 pages. I think it's 6 pages. It's pretty simplified compared to, like, we took North Star, we took, who else did we take? Seattle, and we looked at ISTE. We looked at all of them, we analyzed them, and we pulled out what we thought was the best of them. And so we borrowed their ideas and then came up with our own. So from that, we had done trainings, and this year we went a little bit more specific with a cohort. So the project focus was on integrating digital literacy into our core subjects. The importance was basically to enhance digital skills for workforce and advanced education. Our adult learner context was practical, relevant skill building. And for instructor support, we had understanding and applying digital literacy content standards to their teaching. Here they are. Or if you're in person, you can see them. Sorry, online people, I can't point a camera that way. We don't have that kind of technology at this conference. I have a, by the way, I'm gonna throw it out there. I have a conference in the next month and I'm putting it in the resources. That's free online too. And we do have those resources. Okay. I just have to keep doing that, promoting that. But our key stakeholders were the amazing community learning partners with Joey Learman and Kristen Smith. And basically, what they provided us with is they developed and delivered the training to the cohort, and then they reviewed participant work and provided valuable feedback. They conducted research during the cohort to produce findings to share with the field or journal publishing. The scope and deliverables for this project, participants will gain new skills in order to produce a new or updated activity that includes digital literacy integration to implement with students. Participants will access to view and share their newly integrated lessons within the cohort. This is super annoying. Hold on, I gotta move. My Zoom came back after I hit it. Hide. Okay, try that again. So audience overview, go away Zoom, thank you. Okay, so this was designed for adult educators and it ended up being that 50% of them were instructors. We opened it up to our Texas educators. We didn't really have much of a criteria. We opened it up to any. We didn't have any stipulations for levels, right? No levels. It could be any level of technology. Could be any subject that they wanted. So it ended up being 58% were ESL teachers, or ESL. 21% were math and 15% were ELA. I was a lot surprised, to be honest with you, because previous to my current position, I was a teacher and a tech coach for many years. And it was really hard for me to get buy-in from ESL teachers with technology. And so the world has changed drastically since then, which is good news. The other thing I was really, really surprised is during our pilot, is we had such a huge amount of people interested. I thought I didn't have to promote it. And normally I have to promote it. I have to go on social media. I have to send a huge email. And it was just not that hard to do. We had a huge amount of people interested. This was in the fall. Which my understanding is that's when more people are usually interested anyway in doing these types of trainings, but I was really excited to see this. Experience of our audience, 38% had 10 plus years experience in adult ed and 33% were between 1 to 5 years. The instructional settings, in person was 48%, hybrid 19%, which is really interesting for me because I didn't know how many people were doing that setting. So hybrid meaning they're doing both. So they've got them in person and, well, this, the hybrid. Not easy, right? Definitely not easy on teachers, but I still in my heart believe it's the future, even though it is hard. And learners, urban, 33%, suburban, 8%, and my favorite word in the world, rural. I'm terrible at that word. 13%. Yeah, don't make me say that again. Thank you. I should just not say that word ever. The course structure. So core learning materials, they had readings, tasks, templates, video demos, and classroom integration. There was live engagement. So there were Zoom meetups that featured demos, peer collaboration, which I absolutely love that part of it. I think the participants did too, which you'll learn a little bit about that in a moment. And participant-driven discussions that showcased I have a typo, shared expertise, oops. Feedback and collaboration, instructor feedback, peer review, everything was delivered through Google Docs. They supported shared learning and collaboration. And then they also had flexible learning paths where it was self-paced or guided options were supported by a central hub for activity sharing and peer review. And then finally, they had ongoing support with weekly newsletters with resources, ideas, and course updates. And this was the basic timeline. This is still going on. We basically had I figure this is kind of an estimate. I'm not gonna lie, but I think I'm pretty accurate when she say, okay. So we had about 1 to 2 months planning, 5 to 6, 1 to 2 months. I got that wrong. The first 2 months was planning, so curriculum development, recruitment, us figuring out what we're doing. The third to fifth month was the fall pilot cohort, and it was an 8-week cohort. They did 3 Zoom meetings in between, and then from there it was asynchronous assignments. And within these assignments, the participants got to learn technology, integrate the technology into their classrooms. So it was really hands-on experience, and they got to share their experiences. Then it moved on to the next few months, evaluated the outcomes, they made revisions, and then worked to recruit for the next cohort. Moved then, now we're in spring already. Everything moved very quickly. Again, same system, 3 Zoom meetings, asynchronous assignments. And then we will move to analyzing outcomes and write course impact report and develop a plan for future cohorts. So right now we are in this section here. So it is still going on right now. Some challenges and risks. These were the 4 main ones that I saw. Varying student technology skills present a challenge to ensuring all learners can fully participate in activities. I think everybody has that problem. You go into, I mean, we are faced with so many things these days as teachers, right? But now we're adding the technology aspect to it, the digital literacy skills, but it's also super important that they are walking out our doors with at least some digital literacy skills. But with them having so many different, I mean, some students walk in not even knowing how to use a mouse, right? So that makes it very, very challenging. That's going to be a challenge no matter what. Classroom demonstrations of digital literacy strategies to provide clear guidance for implementation. Increasing interest for non-instructional staff has prompted exploration for meaningful ways they can engage in the cohort. So what we didn't expect is that people that were not instructors wanted to participate, and we were really focused on instructors. So we're now kind of talking about, well, what can we do for other staff? I found that interesting, but also inspiring, because that makes me happy to know that other staff are interested in digital literacy skills, because again, when I was a tech coach, people were like, no, we don't want to. Go away, Ashley Winkle. We don't want you. You go away. We want to just do our old paper routine. Identifying suitable projects for non-instructional staff is an emerging focus to support their involvement and contributions. Some research questions that emerged. How does a sustained duration model influence educator engagement and the application of digital literacy strategies in the classroom? What course elements most effectively support educators' learning and implementation? And what factors influence educators' ability to engage fully in professional development? And finally, some successes that we saw. So this is the one project we could kind of focus on some successes because we at least got through a pilot. So survey data showed participants improving and revising lesson plans to integrate digital skills across content areas, with scores rising from 3.5 to 4.3. This indicated course effectively built practical integration skills. What worked well was the sustained pacing. The multi-week format allowed time for reflection, strategy testing, and classroom integration. So actually, I don't know about anybody else, but how many times I go to a training, love the ideas, and leave it there. Don't get to use it, right? It's my biggest pet peeve with our trainings. They're amazing. I learned so many amazing things, and I don't do anything with it. Peer feedback. I think I'm in love with this part more than anything, because I've always loved the idea of peer feedback anyway, and I keep reading more and more about it. But what I read from the evaluations is participants exchanged ideas, learned from each other, and refined their digital literacy approaches. I kept seeing feedback that really was emphasizing how much they enjoyed that. Instructor support, personalized feedback guided revisions and boosted confidence, the real world application, task-based activities, supported direct application of digital strategies in teaching, and increased confidence. Participants felt more capable of integrating digital skills into their lesson plans. I promise I'm almost done. I wanted to take it, like, we had a lot of quotes from them. We had amazing feedback from the participants. I was really excited about it. I was really happy about it, but I wanted to take at least one from there. One participant said the hour a week method. That was the other part, is we asked for an hour a week contribution from the teachers. This was extremely important, right? Because we don't have a lot of time. The hour a week method was significantly more enjoyable than extensive trainings. And if we have time to do them like this, I would prefer to do all my trainings like that. A single day of training is exhausting, and it only takes a small amount of difficulties. Technology, go away. Okay, let me try it again. A single day of training is exhausting, and it only takes a small amount of difficulties to kill motivation in a 6-hour training. I think that is really important feedback to hear, because it's true, and we do it, and we beat people to death all the time. I know, because I've been there too many times myself. And sometimes they don't even bring snacks. Come on, what the heck? Okay, and with that, I think mine was the longest because we had the most information, but I am going to transition over to another one of our projects. I can talk, really. Okay, I'm going to let Gareth take over.
All right. Thank you very much. So my project since about October has been the Adult Ed Digital Literacy Toolkit. Has anyone already heard of the existing digital literacy toolkits? Okay, that's about what I expected. The original toolkit was, well, let's start with this part. So the project focus is modernizing the digital literacy toolkit, which is a resource that has been online since about 2016, and equipping learners with up-to-date digital skills for work, education, and daily life. We wanted practical, accessible lessons that were tailored to real-world technology usage, and make sure that these resources are available to help the educators teach digital literacy effectively. A little bit of background, the Texas State Library and the Archives Commission created the Digital Literacy Toolkit in 2016 and 2017. And it was actually surprisingly hard to find that information, because the Texas State Library has basically washed their contributions to this project off the internet. But I was able to track that down. So in spring of 2020, the Adult Education and Literacy Division of the Texas Workforce Commission created something called Adult Ed Med. Has anyone heard of that project? Hey, at least, so some of our advertising downstairs in the showroom actually worked. So, oh, okay. Darn. All right. But so the Adult Ed Med project was a project that was put together to try and make a bunch of contextualized lessons. So we wanted to make it possible for, I just noticed that my head is cut off in this little thing. Maybe I should back that up so that people online can actually see my whole head. Yeah. Okay. So we wanted to create lessons that would be accessible not just to teachers who wanted to use them in their classrooms, but also would be accessible to students who wanted to find and study these things on their own time. And so the Adult Ed Med project has a website where these lessons are available in video format in both English and in Spanish. But there are extended materials that are available to teachers who want to take these this content into the classroom and extend it or make a full lesson out of it. So we have lessons covering how to make resumes, how to make emails, but also more traditional HSE topics like geometry. So in 2024, we decided, the DEPDC decided to review the original digital literacy toolkit and look for what needed to be updated. And one of the reasons I brought up that it was originally created in 2016 is that when I looked at that content in 2024, it really felt a lot older than that. It makes sense that a lot of free materials that are produced by a library might not be the most up to date, but we felt like it needed to be brought up at least to the current year. So what were we looking to accomplish? Well, the original Digital Literacy Toolkit covered 6 major component areas, including basic computer skills, internet basics and cybersecurity, email, word processing, spreadsheets, and online job searches. We put together 33 lesson modules with between 3 and 9 lessons per topic area. So, for example, our basic computer skills has about 5 lessons, whereas the internet basics and cybersecurity has 9. There's just a lot of topics in that area that we felt that was valuable for students to explore and get exposed to. Each lesson comes with a lesson plan, has practice materials that are tailored for that specific topic, and there are slideshows to assist with classroom instruction. We then have picked which topics we feel are most appropriate for tutorializing or turning into videos so that they can be so that we can maximize the impact of these lessons in video format. And then we're going to, much like Adult Ed Med has 20 videos, we're going to have 20 videos that are going to be available in English and Spanish. This is our team. I was joined by Ryan Lett, as well as Heather Bach, Maxine Stefano, and Christy Johnson. I believe I believe Christy Johnson was also here at COABE, so maybe some of you have run into her. But they were all lovely people, very hardworking and willing to dedicate a lot of their time outside of regular working hours to help with this project. So what did we want? What were the challenges that were associated with this project? We need it to be accessible. If students are going to get access to this material on their own time, then they need to be able to find it. So one of the things we need to put together is a website or a web page on another website that can be available to learners, but also has a section with all of the relevant materials for educators. And then once that content is developed, well, technology changes and adapts. We've seen how the last few years have affected just the conversation about technology, or sorry, specifically AI. AI is a huge topic, and even though we have spent a great deal of time developing an AI unit for our lesson, how relevant is it going to be in the near future is a concern to us. And it takes considerable time to film education videos, even short ones. Our target is about 7 minutes per video, maybe even as little as 5, so that we can keep them nice and digestible. But the process of making an effective transition from lesson plan to filming, to scripting to filming, to a finished production and then an upload has to be required. We need that pipeline so that we can get these things done in a timely and efficient manner. Fortunately, we have some help on this. Okay. Our timeline so far, back in 2024, I got started on a vertical slice does anybody here have a technology background or a computer science background? Do we know what the phrase vertical slice means? No? So that's my bias showing, because I have a computer science background and also love the production of video games. Does anybody play video games? What? No one? Oh my gosh. But the concept of a vertical slice is basically putting together like a single level that has all of the mechanics that you expect that video game to have. And so a vertical slice in this case was we wanted to make sure that we had at least a single unit that had all of the materials that we were expecting to have. And I started working on that back in October. Then in December, we assembled the team and everybody got a topic to explore and finish developing. And in January, we got the vertical slice filmed. We got the video put together. We have the lessons put together. We have the materials for those lessons. We have everything except the finished video at this point. But everything's been filmed at least. Then we know, I believe, in February, the videos were completed. We're now starting a review to make sure that they actually meet our expectations and they are actually the videos that we want to put out there in the public for public consumption. Then in March, we had all of the materials that were, besides the videos, developed and submitted. In May, we are going to be filming the remaining approximately 15 videos. And then there will be sent off for editing and website development, which will follow. And our project deadline is October of 2025. And we had some lovely project feedback as we were wrapping up production of the materials. Christy Johnson had this to say: "It has been a huge honor to get to work with such an incredible team on such a meaningful project. I mean that. I've worked in education for years, and I have not experienced such positive, team-oriented group of humans since I worked in prison, and that was more out of necessity to have each other's back than any evidence of great leadership. So thank you for cultivating such a positive work environment, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of something special. That- Thank you, Christy. I wish you were here so I could point you out. Okay. Our next project is Generative Artificial Intelligence Makerspace, which I had an opportunity to be a part of, but that would be more Ryan's thing. Oh,
Sorry, I wanted to, you're really tall. I just want to point something out. Those video lessons that they turned 33 into, so just to show you how things have changed so much, they started with 7 lessons in that library. That's all it was. So they had enormously long lessons, and we took them and turned them into micro lessons. We turned 7 long lessons into 33. But what was interesting about it was what he was saying is it seems so old. Technology has changed so much that I literally thought that some of those lessons were coming from like the 80s. And we're like, 2016, are you kidding me? So it was a really, really eye-opening experience, but I just wanted to point that out. But now Ryan's going to talk about our newest project that we're working on.
All right. And so before I jump into that, I did want to leave space to make sure if there are any questions about DLCS innovations or DLTK, just want to make sure if there are any questions in the chat or you guys have any thoughts or questions, I have an opportunity to share those before we get too far ahead. All right. Okay. So just a quick poll, raise the hands in the room. Let me grab my. How many of you are familiar with the term AI? You see AI, you know what it is in general. What about makerspace? Oh, okay. Okay. And what about OER? Do you know what OER stands for and what it is? Oh, okay. 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 All right. Well, we're going to touch on all 3 of those things in this project. So, GenAIMS is the project that I was working on. It stands for Generative AI Makerspace. The focus of this project was to use AI to create classroom resources that enhance instruction. So, some of the importance of that project are that it builds AI literacy, that it will, of course, keep educators current, in terms of the changing technology, and of course, dispelling misconceptions, because there are a lot of misconceptions out there about AI, what it does, its uses, and safety, things like that. In an adult learner context, it's also a hands-on training for the adult educators so that they can apply these AI tools effectively. And then there's that instructor support component on it where there's guidance in that prompt development, content optimization, and then obviously the AI integration. So some of the deliverables of this project are that the participants are in a makerspace, and the resources that are created through this cohort will be made available to other adult education practitioners that they can use as an open education resource. So if you're not familiar with the term OER or the acronym OER, that's what that stands for, Open Education Resource, which is a resource that is openly licensed. You can access and use it. They're free to use. You can revise it. It is an open education resource there. The term makerspace is a collaborative workspace. So there are makerspaces that are tangible, right? So they are making something that is a tangible object. In this case, we're obviously working in a digital context. But this is where people learn, they come together, they create, they learn from each other, and then they're exploring using a variety of tools and materials. So a makerspace is a safe space, right? So that we're learning from each other and we're growing. And then, of course, in the end of this project, we are creating a deliverable, which is going to be the resources that are created. So the key stakeholder for this project is World Education. This is the team here. We have Jeff, Rachel, Ebony, Jen, and Justine. And I want to say that they are amazing partners. And of course, they've been here at COABE as well with many great sessions and presentations. So you might have seen them as well this week. So what they did was they delivered and developed the training for the cohort. They build the makerspace, and they are throughout the actual cohort are reviewing and monitoring the participant activity. They're giving that feedback. So they're setting up all of their activities. They're setting up their workbook spaces, all of that. They're monitoring and helping the participants along. And then along with that, there is a research component to produce findings and again, to share out with the field, either through journal publishing and et cetera. So the timeline, the way this project works, it is a course of 6 weeks. It consists of 4 live Zoom sessions and 3 asynchronous assignments, which they do receive professional development credit for completing. So for the first week, they are learning about the basics of AI and prompting. So starting from a beginning. And then after that first live session, there's a homework assignment, if you will, that asynchronous assignment where they do in their digital workbook, which is a shared document that's built through Google Docs. The second week, they're now collaborating with the generative AI, and again, another following workbook assignment to complete. And then they work on classroom implementation of what they have created, following that with an asynchronous activity, a workbook activity. The final week, week 6, is a showcase. That's where they're going to be able to share out their findings, what they made, their experience, and even, what happened when they tried to teach their lesson in class, right? And these aren't long lessons that they're creating. It may be something small, a short. Obviously we're only in a 6-week cohort, so to be able to showcase it, it may be a 10-minute lesson, 30-minute lesson, 1-hour lesson. It's not necessarily, did you have something to say? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. Not necessarily. So, so that's what the showcase is. But they'll share all of that out on week 6. So we have had the opportunity of having Gareth also be a participant in this makerspace. So I want to give him just a moment to go ahead and share what his participant experience has been thus far.
So yeah, when she mentioned that question about has anybody had experience with AI, before I started this job, I had heard of AI obviously, but I wasn't really comfortable with anything about it. I hadn't had any time with it. I hadn't even used something like ChatGPT before. So I was going into this experience basically from ground zero. I knew how to use a computer. Consider myself pretty tech savvy, but when it came to AI, I had very little idea of what was going on. So the first couple of iterations of the project, we had tasks. We were basically supposed to take lessons and try to use AI to get ideas about how to generate a full lesson. And so that was to teach us how to use prompting. And I learned that the more famous AIs like ChatGPT and Gemini made some interesting choices when it came to sometimes some of the things I asked it to do. One of the tasks was to try and differentiate lessons so that we could use the same lesson at different levels. And I found that when I took a lesson to Gemini and I asked it to simplify, it did that by trying to turn it into caveman speak, which is not what I was going for a high beginning ESL classroom. So learning that the tools are trying their best, but they're not necessarily reading your mind. When you say simplify, it needs some more guidance. That was an eye-opening experience. How much guidance do I need to give it? The prompt framework that they provided was very helpful for helping me to understand that process. And there are some tools like Diffit and Magic School AI that were very intuitive when it came to making actionable content that I could provide and then take into a classroom. And even if a lesson does not necessarily something that you're doing with a chatbot is not something you can necessarily take into a classroom and make it, just here's the idea that I have, I feed it into ChatGPT and I get something out and I'm going to immediately take it into the classroom. That's not necessarily going to work, but it does help you to get ideas that you probably wouldn't have thought of by yourself. Earlier today, I was just spending some time sitting down with Diffit just to see, could I take some of these things that I've already made and feed them into Diffit? And what other ideas could I get? Because I haven't used this one before. And immediately, it gave me graphics and it gave me graphic organizers to help me with that lesson. And I was like, this is actually very helpful. I hadn't thought of that before. I wouldn't have thought of this particular arrangement of ideas before. So very informative experience, and I'm glad that to have been a part of it.
Yes. So that it really highlights kind of what is happening with the participants in the cohort. So, and we can see the same activity because of the shared workbooks. We can see what they're working on, seeing their progression as they're building their resource. And so, yeah, Gareth really is highlighting that experience for them. So some of the challenges and risk. So before the implementation or the start of this cohort, World Ed led and conducted a co-design session. There were 3 sessions, and the group of co-designers was it comprised of some. Let me see. We had some professional development specialists. We had some providers, instructors, members of TCALL, of course, administrative staff. So a small group that kind of would make up, those who would be impactful in this type of work. And so those sessions, we talked about brainstorming the training needs for the participants. We talked about how the sessions will ensure that the tools selected are tools that instructors can go on and use. Reusability is a term that we focused on. And then also looking at the purpose, the training outline for the entire cohort. What should that look like? Are there any changes to it that should be made? And then looking at even mapping out recruitment channels. So they really thoroughly kind of took those co-designers through the process of what will this cohort look like, and then they took all of that feedback to go ahead and refine and implement and develop some of those outreach materials for that. So we did brainstorm those ideas, and then during the implementation, so that's where we are. We haven't finished yet. Some of the things that we've identified are, one, maybe there's some marketing things we could talk about. So the reason why I was, just kind of doing a quick poll of the familiarity with AI and makerspace and OER is that to us, it seemed as if it's very self-explanatory. And even though there was a video that was also included in some of our outreach materials, we recognize that still some of our participants may not know what all those words mean together. Or individually or together. So, really kind of thinking forward of when we do our next outreach, what do we need to change or add so that that is more self-explanatory or understood. And even the word cohort, I use that word a lot, but some may not know. So really kind of making sure that we're defining those key terms for our next outreach. Another factor, which Ashley talked about earlier, is in the fall. The fall time, there's a lot of motivation, there's a lot of energy and movement. And so maybe the time of year offered is impacting the participant rate, right? So we know that this is a very busy time of year in Texas, our grant year is starting to, come to a wrap in June. And so there's a lot of things going on. So maybe considering doing it earlier in the spring, of course, in the fall, looking at that. And then the duration. So between the first and the second virtual meetings, it was only 1 week. And so there was not a lot of turnaround time for the homework assignment. So maybe looking at putting in an extra week in between those, between the weeks 1 and 2 assignments, will help that turnaround time so the participants can feel like they have the space to really go back and try the tool and complete the homework assignment as they want to. And then we're looking at also including an overview or introduction to the digital literacy content standards too. So making sure that they're part of the cohort, we're integrating that, but making sure that they're very familiar or at least kind of have an overview of what those Texas digital literacy content standards are if they don't know. And so that's where we are kind of in the implementation phase. And then of course, once everything is completed, after that final showcase, getting the full participant feedback to see where they feel we can improve or grow or things like that on this particular cohort. And that is it.
Okay, we're going to pause for just a second. Are there any questions? I'm trying to find the chat. I'm trying to find the people. Hold on. The people online. All right. Yes, there's a question about. We're going to try that mic. If it doesn't work, I will repeat the question.
Test.
I'm wondering what that shared workbook looked like, if it was a Google Doc just for people to put what they're creating in there, or if it also had like your tips, and was that like also your, like some training tips and stuff like that in there as well?
Good question. So the shared doc has kind of a wrap up instructions of what they need to do for that particular workbook assignment. And then they have like an exit ticket in there where they click a link and they're answering some questions about what they're working on. So it does kind of guide them through. So for example, like the first session, and Gareth may be able to speak to it a little bit more about what that workbook looks like.
A little bit about that workbook. So it does come basically with some of the instructions that were in the presentation, so that you have a refresher of what you're supposed to take away from that individual session, and then a set of instructions where you basically just fill in the blanks with what you are aiming to do with that particular part of the project. And then when they move to the next week, the next session, they then extended it with, so that you basically, it's a living workbook. So it's constantly evolving as you are developing your understanding of the material.
Better said.
Any other questions? Anything in the chat? Okay. All right. Okay. So we're coming to the end, the closing. I will say that I am providing with a digital handout as well, and the people we worked with and all the resources and this book creator that we're working on will be provided for you. But we do have a little game for you to see what you learned today. And I will tell you, because we've been talking so much about AI through this whole conference, that I'm not gonna lie, I used ChatGPT this morning, of course, because I was throwing everything together. Then I'm like, now it's time to play with the technology, which is Ashley's favorite thing to do. And so I had it, like, I downloaded this whole session into a PDF, went to ChatGPT, and I'm like, create 10 questions for me. And then it created these awful hard questions. I'm like, no, make it fun. And so it makes it fun. And then as I'm doing them, thank God I read them, because one of them mixed up the two projects and it made no sense. And I was like, this is why you have to watch what ChatGPT is doing. All right, give me just a second to get into it, because I have so many accounts that it took me an hour to figure out which account I was using. Okay, we are going to play Book Creator. Book Creator, no, we're not. We're going to play Blookit. It's Blookit. I always thought it was Blookit, but apparently it's Blookit. Blookit, if you've not played before, I think it's going to bring it up. Here we go. Ooh, we've got snazzy music too. Blookit, if you've not played before, is a little like Kahoot. Except I think it's a little more fun sometimes, and it's a lot easier if you've never played it. But you'll either go to that code or play.blookit.com and enter the code. And I think I have it set up where it's creating your names for you, I believe. Either that or you guys are coming up with some, maybe you guys are coming up with the names. Fancy Pirates. That I like it. I like it. So you did create the name. Okay. Digital Puppet. You guys are very creative for such a late time in a conference. I don't know how many people we have online. You what? Oh no. All right, we've got 6. Can anybody just tell me if they don't want to participate? Because that's fine, and I will not wait for you. Okay. People still, is anybody chatting with us? Okay. Well, like, I get it, because I was online and not like engaged, which made me feel guilty, because as a presenter, that's annoying, but I was listening. So I don't want to. All right. Okay. We're probably going to get started because I don't want to run out of time. I'm not trying to pressure anybody. All right. Has anybody played Blookit before? Blookit? Okay. All right, now I gotta get this thing out of my way. I was like, how do I start? Oh, push start. All right. I have. It's just been a while. Skip this. It's just been a long time. Waiting to party. I don't remember how to use it though. Okay, I think you guys just start, don't you? Don't they have questions on their phone? Does anybody have it on? It's not doing anything. It's got, well, Digital Puppet's got 50 points. It's not doing anything for you because you don't have a phone. We should use my phone for you. It's not taking your answer, internet. Oh, internet fail. This is not going to happen at DLTI. Darn it anyway. Huh? Stars in the lead. Well, it's working for one person. It's working for Digital Puppet for sure. All right. So for you, those of you who not played Lookit, or maybe you can't play right now, it's kind of fun because you can steal points from each other. That's why I wanted to do it. Digital Puppet and Fancy Pirate, it seems to be, are neck and neck. And J Pancake. Where are you guys coming up with these names? J Pancake? Cool. They must be stealing from each other. How am I on time? Okay. I know. It is pretty funny. Do you want to go ahead and hand out the evaluations? All right. Well, while you guys. Three more minutes. I probably made the time too long. End the game, but just wanted to end it with a little bit of fun. Sorry, the internet doesn't work. I can't control that part. All right. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Because we are a research-based funding source, I said that totally wrong, but you know what I mean. We exist because we are very research oriented and evaluations are very important. So if you guys could pull, you can either fill out, if you're in person, you've got the paper version, or you can scan if you want to do the digital version. You have that. If you could please fill out the evaluations. It's a quick 5 questions, so it's not too stressful. Thank gosh that we made that shorter. We also have a digital handout for you that we're going to drop on in the chat, so it will be on your app as well. And it will have the resources today, the people we collaborated with, and access to this slideshow as well. And I just want to thank you guys all for being here and joining us and letting us share today. And I hope everybody has a safe trip home and get some rest after this very long week. Very long 3 days. Was it 3? Was it 10? What day is it? It's Wednesday? It feels like it's Saturday. I don't know.